Hello everyone. I don't really know the right way to start this video, and there's something about that that feels really appropriate because when you have a parent with narcissistic personality disorder, there's nothing that you can do that's right. It always hurts, no matter what. If you go no contact, the guilt eats at you, and if you stay in contact with them, they slowly erode your sense of self out from under you, and that's like a different but equally awful kind of hurt. And as I've been thinking about making this video, what keeps coming up are just all of the conflicting feelings. I love her and I hate her and I pity her and I feel so guilty for abandoning her, and I miss her. I miss laughing with her and watching Masterpiece Theater together, and I wish so deep in my bones that she would have been happy. And even now that she's gone, I just wish more than anything that she could be at peace. And it all just turns into such a big mess inside. All these different parts needing all of these different things. One always wanted to be a part of her life and still wants her to be something, to be someone that I'm connected to. And another is terrified of her. And another is enraged and has just always wanted to punch her in the face. And it just kind of turns into this big internal tornado as I cycle through all of these different wants, all with like a different solution, but it's not even a solution because there's nothing that'll make it right. And it all feels like a landmine of shame, because no matter what I say, it's never the right thing, and there will always be people who will shame me for having the feelings that I have. People who don't understand what it's like to have a parent who you love and who torments you. And I've had to make that choice my whole life because of her. Pretend so that at least there will be some people around you, so that you're not totally alone. Even if it means that those people never really know who I am. Or be honest and get shamed. Be honest and get rejected. So here we are. No right way to talk about this, and I'm already crying. The last time I did talk about my mom was years ago, and it was when I decided to go no contact after receiving yet another email listing all of the ways I had wronged her. How neuroscience proves that everything I say about her is made up because my memories aren't real. An email that included her favorite phrase, "There's something seriously wrong with you." And I stayed no contact with her for at least 18 months. And that choice felt like a relief. I felt my psyche starting to knit itself back together. And I felt the seeds of self-worth and the seeds of confidence in my perception of reality starting to take root in me. And it wasn't the fake self-confidence bravado that I had been having to muster up for years. It was something that was real. And when I had space away from her, I felt my anger start to soften because I was setting the boundaries that I needed to set to make sure that I was protected. And during that time, I really grieved for everything that had happened between us, for the relationship that I wanted that wasn't ever gonna happen, and for all of the ways my life is smaller because of the way that she treated me. And I grieved for the ways that all of my relationships have been harder and scarier because of what she taught me was normal. And I really grieved for all of the ways that I had hurt other people because I thought that it was okay to do that. I thought it was normal. I thought it was fair game. And I learned during that time how to understand that I didn't know better, and so to offer myself some compassion and forgiveness. But it's certainly been a process, and it's not something that can ever be undone. So at some point, I felt like I could talk to her and keep my center, because even though it felt really good to have her at a distance, my life was just like, it felt easy, it felt smooth, nothing surprising me or sneaking up on me. So even though that felt good, I've also always known that her life was not easy. An alcoholic father who beat everybody at the house, and her mom died pretty young. So much stacked against her, and she worked so hard, and she had such high hopes for herself. She got herself out of there. She worked her way through graduate school, and I'm so proud of her. I was so proud of her for that. And I always loved her, even when I was full of rage. The love was there too. And as she got older, I wanted to be a person who could be there for her and listen to her and make her feel wanted and valued. And so we started talking, and it was always really draining, you know, having to keep up really strong boundaries and not share too much about my life so that she couldn't use it against me later, to sidestep the manipulative bait that she would dangle and the barbs that she would throw, like emotional aikido, and then just listening to her endless complaints about other people and criticizing them and judging them and making fun of them and putting them down. It was exhausting. Constantly trying to guide her back to something that was just less of a constant rumination about how awful everyone else was. So it was exhausting, but I wanted to do it. So at some point, she finds a lump in her breast. So very long, complicated story short, she refused to have any diagnostics, any treatment, nothing. We never knew what it was, because my mom learned muscle testing about 15 years ago. She started misusing it immediately, even going so far as to muscle test herself on behalf of other people, claiming that it could prove when they were lying. I would say something like, "Mom, I'm upset at you because you said that to me." And she would stand there and she would muscle test her own finger and say, "No, you're not upset with me. You're mad at your boyfriend and you're taking it out on me. There's something really wrong with you." And it was a pretty clever gaslighting tactic, I guess. So she muscle tested herself constantly about everything, and her muscle testing said that she didn't have cancer. But I was pretty sure that she had cancer. And her health kept deteriorating. And between like 2020 and 2023, I got multiple emails every week saying, "I'm dying. If I don't survive the week, here are the instructions. You'll have to fly to New Zealand and get my dog. But don't tell your sister that you're coming because she might try to have you killed by one of those thugs that she works with." It was this like non-stop torrent of histrionic drama. And I'm trying to be there for her because I want to be there for her because she's my mom. But being there for my mom has always meant having to agree with this reality that's like completely different from what I know to be true. And I felt really stuck during those years because she kept making her situations worse and attacking the people who were trying to help her. And she ended up alone, completely rejected by everyone, every person that loved her, very poor. And if a really patient cousin hadn't taken her in and then helped her find a little apartment back in Tennessee, she would have been homeless. And so here she is, possibly on death's door, you know, nobody knows. So scared because she doesn't know where she's gonna live. It's like she wanted to make it worse. It's like she wanted me to feel so bad for her that I told her to come live with me. But I'm not gonna do that. I can't, you know, I couldn't. So I'm having to operate in her reality where this is horrible and scary, and it's another dire emergency in a string of never-ending dire emergencies, where I'm trying to stay rooted in reality, where she is setting herself up for this and attacking all of the people who are trying to help her. And I'm so frustrated and mad with her But I can't tell her that because she'll get mad at me and then be even more alone. And I just don't want her to drop dead by herself in a Motel 6 parking lot. But it really seemed like that's where we were headed. So in January of this year, after she finally found a little apartment to live in, she called me and then just immediately started ranting about her sister again and how she betrayed her. And I got frustrated and I said, Mom, I don't want to listen to you say horrible things about your sister anymore. And she got mad and refused to talk to me for months. And I respected that boundary for the most part. I just reached out every now and then saying, Mom, I love you. I'm here if you want to reach out. I know our last conversation got heated, but I love you and I want to be here for you. Nothing. And I was trying to brace myself for, I don't know, maybe getting a call one day from someone who found her dead. But, I mean, that's the thing. I didn't even know what to brace myself for because no one knew if she had cancer. No one knew if she was actually terminally ill. Is this actually a dire emergency, or is this just her claiming that she's dying again? Like she's been doing for a couple decades. And I don't think I ever knew what was real and what wasn't with my mom. I couldn't trust anything she said. So I was having to take things and translate them from her reality into what is actually happening so that I can have a life where I have to show up for appointments and pay my bills and take care of my family. So in April of this year, I get a text from my aunt that said, your mom looks like a skeleton. I don't think she can possibly last much longer like this. So I got on a plane the next day. So when I got there, I had to lie to her about why I was there. I said I was surprising her for her birthday. Because I knew that if I said that my aunt had contacted me, she'd just be livid and probably kick me out. So when I got there, she must have weighed 75 pounds. But her stomach was huge. Like 9 months pregnant, huge. And she could barely move. She couldn't eat or drink more than a couple sips. She was in so much pain that neither of us slept for a couple of days as I tried to take care of her, tried to give her some kind of comfort. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to Google, like, how does a hospice work? After a couple of days, I finally convinced her to let hospice come. So I called them and I told them exactly what was going on. You know, I think she has breast cancer and she won't admit it, but she's in so much pain and I needed help. And they sent someone that day, thank God. And they just prescribed her pain meds right away. They didn't ask any questions. Not even when she said that she was dying from the COVID vaccine. So I was with her like that for 10 days. And it was really just me and her because she didn't really want visitors. And for those 10 days, anytime she was awake, it was just a constant barrage of hate for her ex-partners, for her sisters, for my sister, for everyone's husbands, for friends, ex-bosses, co-workers. She was just on a warpath. Everyone was awful and everyone had betrayed her. And not one word ever came out of her mouth about the part she might have played in it. In fact, many times she said with a look of contempt on her face, I have no regrets. Well, okay then. When I was making the trip to Tennessee, I spent a lot of time breathing into my heart, which is the place that feels most like me, because I knew that what I was walking into was going to test me, and I wanted to stay connected to myself, because I'm a kind person, because I love her, and I wanted to remember that, especially in those moments when she was being so caustic. I wanted to remember that I love her and that she's lovable and that she deserves love because we all do. Because I wanted to show up for her and I wanted to show up for me and I wanted to do my best and be present with her and love her as she died. And I was about 1/3 successful because I just couldn't do it. Partially because I didn't know how long she was gonna last. If I had known that it would only be 10 days, I might have been able to do it. But not knowing made it so hard to stay present with her hatefulness. And I'm really grateful that I was able to at least stay aware of what was happening and consciously choose the moments to check out and the moments to be present. And to really be able to figure out what was needed when. And to really know as I went through this that all of it's true. I can be loving and sad and angry all at the same time. They don't cancel each other out. And after 9 days of me being there, she stopped being able to wake up. And then about 24 hours later, she died. And I spent the next 3 days, like, furiously trying to pack up her apartment and take care of all of the business. Getting her cremated and all the paperwork and dropping off all of her stuff to be donated. Which was so awful. And trying to contact friends and family. Because most people didn't even know that she was sick because she wouldn't admit it. And at the end of 3 days, I was just completely exhausted. And then this like whole other layer of nightmare opened up when my husband went to check on his mom and found her dead. Like, I still don't understand how it could have happened, but they died within 24 hours of each other. And that's a whole other story. And it's not my story to tell. But being apart from him during that was a whole other layer of awful. And I got the last seat on the next flight back to Hawaii and came home with my mom in a box in my carry-on. So that was the end of April. And I had kind of envisioned for myself, like, I'll take a week to grieve, you know? And then I'll be over it, because like I'd been preparing for this for so long. I knew it was gonna happen. Or I mean, I didn't know, I suspected. Whatever. I thought I was prepared. I thought, you know, it would be an easier process because half of me hates her, you know? But it wasn't. As soon as she was dead, the parts of me that hate her just kind of melted away. And up front is just so sad. And I feel fine with that sadness, you know, like I'm fine with all of the feelings. Truly, I am. I'm good. If it were just up to me, I don't think I'd even talk about this publicly, because I know that when I post this, people are gonna make comments here, just like they do in everyday life, that I shouldn't be so sad, that I should get over it, that I'm just hurting myself, that I should let it go and move on, that my feelings are too big, there's something wrong with you, that I should be grateful that she's not suffering anymore, that I should have forgiven her before she died, that I shouldn't be saying negative things about my dead mother. And that's the feedback that most children of narcissists receive. Or the feedback that most people who are grieving receive. Your feelings are too big. They're lasting for too long. Because big, mixed up, intense feelings scare most people. And that really sucks, because grief is such a delicate, sacred emotion. It's exquisitely painful. Like, it really hurts. But hidden within that pain is the deepest, most profound intimacy that you can have. Intimacy with yourself and intimacy with life. Because death is part of life. This pain is part of life. And it has felt like such a gift to be insulated from the world, so that I could just really be with my grief. Feel every single layer that comes up and pick it up every single day and roll it around in my hand. And that's why I'm here, sobbing on camera, talking about this whole huge, big, private thing. Because within this story of what it's like to navigate illness and death of a narcissistic parent is the reassurance that having big, complicated, messy, painful feelings is completely normal. and that it's okay to feel everything at whatever pace feels right, and that it's in the feeling of it, the actual deep feeling of it, that's where the healing is. That's where peace could be. You know, there's a part of me that's really relieved that she's dead because she's not in physical or emotional pain anymore. And because I'm free of her. It's done. There's no more wondering. There's no more dread. There's no more bracing myself every time I check my email. And part of me misses her. Part of me wants my mom. Part of me has always wanted my mom. Who's so sad that I didn't go out of my way to make her feel more wanted. Who should have made sure that she knew that I loved her unconditionally. And even that word, unconditional, pisses me off because I did tell her that 15 years ago and she called me a naive moron and told me that her love for me was 100% conditional and that there was something very wrong with me. And part of me is terrified because I don't know where she is anymore. Is her spirit still floating around? Does she have powers? Will her intentions be any better than they were when she was alive? Has she learned any lesson? Do I need to be burning sage? Is she here right now getting pissed off about this video? I don't know. And part of me is just devastated that she's dead. I'm just completely horrified by the amount of pain and nausea and suffering that she experienced as cancer spread through and ate her body. The moment that she stopped breathing, it was just terror and wrongness. Like my animal body knew on some instinctual level that what I was seeing was just catastrophic. The life couldn't survive it, obviously. But that level of powerlessness was sobering. And I'm really tormented by knowing how miserably unhappy she was for years and years and years. And it is not soothing anymore to know that it was her own making. She did it to herself. It's only torment. It's just painful. And it can't be solved. There's nothing for it. Knowing that every innocent wish and hope that she had for her life didn't come true. But her worst fears did. I feel like I should have done something to save her. But I know in my bones that there was nothing. She wouldn't have had it. She would have eaten me alive. Like she did everybody else. It's just a pain with no solution. And then yeah, there's the anger. The selfish anger because I was completely alone when she died. I didn't have anybody because I wanted to honor her wishes. And it was awful. And even deeper than that because she'd been triangulating with me and the rest of my family for so many years. I don't have relationships with them. They couldn't have comforted me or been there for me if they had wanted to because it's just not there. And part of me is so disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to be more present in the days and hours before she died. I was just so disappointed that I was on the cusp of losing it. And so I just checked out and went to watch a movie. So I sit with the relief and the ocean of sadness and the anger and the longing and the fear and the disappointment. And I just feel how all of them are so true at the same time. All of it gets to be real and acceptable. And I know that I did my best under impossible circumstances that would have overwhelmed anyone. And I know that anyone who has let themselves be an apprentice to grief, as Francis Weller says, will also know that there is no wrong way to let grief move through you. I know that I can trust my grief. I can trust all of these feelings. They don't mean me any harm. And I trust myself to heal, just like I heal when I scrape my knee or get a paper cut. My body and my mind, they know what to do. And feeling this is part of it. Because even as I sit here sobbing on camera, still feeling all of these complicated feelings that just aren't resolving with time so far. I know it's still early days, but like, geez. I also feel how all of it can be true and how I can be totally okay. More than okay. I'm whole. I feel whole. And that feels like the best medicine. And that feels like the best way to honor my mom. Because she was this big, complicated person too. All of her was true. Her love was real. And her generosity and her kindness was just as real as her unkindness. And I get to honor her too. And that is ultimately what my mother taught me in her life and in her death. Perhaps in a backwards way. But she made me prove to myself over and over and over again that there is nothing wrong with me. And I have investigated that from so many angles that I know it's true. And I will never question that. No one will ever be able to make me question that. And so I'm grateful. And so that kind of feels like the natural end to it. At least for now. I'd like to be back here again soon. I'll do my best. I really, really treasure this opportunity that we have here to connect. This opportunity for me to be real. Because I don't get this very often in my real life. I'm blessed to have a few people who can meet me like this in the complexity. It would be so beautiful if society were more open to it. So I'm really grateful to be able to show up as me. It's good medicine. I love you all. I really appreciate you. And I want you to take really, really good care of yourselves. I'll see you.